I had a vision in my mind what would be the perfect climbing stick and what would be the perfect tree stand. And I wanted to build that. For me, it wasn't about building the lightest stand. It was about building the lightest stand that still had all the features you need to hunt out of.
With each day that we went out and tried a new version of the prototype, the excitement started to build.
Mario was really the one who said, you know what, Dan, you have to give this to the people, to the consumers. We have to offer this to people. His reasoning was that we could make hunting better and we could make it better for people. If we could do that, it'd be worth it.
The excitement that the community brought to the table really spawned us to have some more self-reflection and ask ourselves, well, do we really want to bring this to market so that everyone could have that same experience like we had in that first season that we went out and started using this equipment and these new tools.
After decades of mobile hunting and years of prototyping, designing, making, remaking, retrying tree stand and stick designs,
we're confident that we've come up with the most versatile solution for the mobile hunter.
Hey everybody, I wanted to do a video this spring about CRP Fields and how I hunt them. And the reason I had to do it this spring is because this is a farm that me and my family have hunted for years and years and years. And there's always been this big CRP field on it. It's probably 30 to 40 acres. Farmer called me this spring and informed me that they're going to turn all this into crops, either this farming season, and if not this farming season, next farming season. So can't plant my food plots anymore, and yeah, it's going to be bean fields and cornfields from now on. So I wanted to show you guys kind of the features in a CRP field that bucks tend to like to bed in, as well as some setups with my beast stand in the CRP field, and kind of why I think it's super important to have a hunting beast gear setup inside of fields like this. Okay, I should probably clarify what I mean by CRP field. Essentially, I mean like a grass field or some, a field that's covered in briars and tall growth. This field here is actually not as tall as what it usually is. The farmer must have came and mowed it early this spring. But there's a lot of these briars in this field, and then a lot of times the grass will get up to about, typically about waist high or maybe chest high in some areas. So it's actually a really thick field typically by the time season comes around. So the first place that I would look for bucks to be bedding in a grass field or an overgrown field is if you have any type of fingers, like low areas in the CRP field that has some cover on it, just like this one right here. You can see this finger goes all the way almost to the end of the CRP field right over there. And this is where I typically see most of the big deer bedding in this particular CRP field. I'm going to give you two other examples of places that I've jumped big deer and seen them come out of their beds in this particular CRP field. But low areas where there's a little stream that runs at the bottom of this low area, and there's a bunch of brush around it. So let's go into this little finger and I'll show you the buck beds. All right, so there's just this little hole of an opening right here in this finger, and it's just, everything else is just this like tangled mess of all kinds of stuff. I'll show you a couple of the beds. The first one is really defined. It's actually right there, and there's also a big one right here tucked in to the briar bushes right there. There's all kinds of really nice rubs in here. And it was actually more tore up than this. There's an older one right there from earlier this year. But the bucks will bed in here. They really don't go that way out of this finger. It's just too much for them to get through with all the nasty stuff down in here. But they will end up coming out. You can see actually, you can see right there, there's a trail right there. They go out, and then they clearly will go out right through there as well. All right, I just sat down in this bed here, and the reason I picked this one to sit down in is because that other one that's kind of tucked down in there, I don't really think that they'll be able to see much out of there. This is probably the one where they would catch you coming in here if they were going to catch you. One thing I can notice is that they can kind of see up through there, which is, there's a little hill that goes up right there. So I need to make a note to myself that I need to stay below that hill when I'm coming in here. Obviously they'd be able to see all the way up through there. Out in the CRP field, there's a little hill right that goes over the top there. You'd want to stay on that side of the hill also. So looking out that way, which typically what these deer will do in this particular bed is they'll come out and they'll go to the north down the finger and circle around and then go out to the crop fields that are out in there at night. So I'm going to go ahead and make my way out of the bedding area here and see what tree looks good to me. All right, so I'm just outside the bedding area. You can see right here is the little open area they come out of. And the first tree that pops out of me, these right here are too close, and they're also way too small to get into. They're just brush essentially. But there's a tree right there that looks like it would be a perfect tree. And I'm probably, from here to there, it's probably 50 yards, which is perfect in this scenario. Essentially what I have is all this brush right here is blocking that tree right there. And there's no way a deer is going to be able to see me sitting inside of there. I think even if all the leaves are falling off this brush, they still wouldn't be able to see me. That's how thick it is. So let's, I'll walk you on the deer trail that goes by that tree, and then we're going to take my beast stand and we're going to actually get up in the tree, and I'll kind of show you that process and what I'm going to do with that. All right, so behind you guys, your view and looking at the screen is where the bedding area is. And what I'm thinking with this particular spot is I would actually come in down this ditch line here and kind of sneak my way up into this tree, with the bucks being 50 yards from me right now. So 50 yards seems like it's close, but with this much cover, I don't really think it is. You just have to be quiet. Since it is private land, I am going to take a saw up there and trim up some of these limbs. There's limbs everywhere in this tree. So, all right, let's get up there and get the stand set. I already put my safety harness on, so it'll be nice and safe. So I'd come in here, sneak down the ditch line here, put my stand down, undo my strap. In a tree like this, I really will only carry 2 sticks with me. I run these cable aiders. Obviously I don't have a bow with me, but you have to tie your bow up to pull it up the tree. I always tuck my straps away so they're not blowing around. If I got like a good spot to like hang my stick, I'll put it up there like that. All right, so I'm actually almost already at hunting height here. I'll probably only be 8 to 11 feet off the ground, I would say, in this particular stand. So I will go ahead and put one last stick up. Okay, so at this point, I'd start looking for a kind of a spot to put my stand, and I really like the idea of having it facing this way, so I can kind of check out over in there. I also have a perfect shot since I'm right-handed, just to my left out there. Then I will take my stand off my back. Loosen it up. And really, trees like this, it's not about how fast you can get up in them. It's about trying to do it in a manner that's methodical and slow and quiet. And that's what I'm trying to do here, make this as ready to go, slow and quiet as it could possibly be come October. So with this tree, you can see my base is a little bit kicked out towards me here, so the platform would be a little bit uneven. So all you do is take your stand off here and just move it over a little bit, and then reset your stand. Okay. Pull it down a little bit. Locks in, and we're nice and flat too. So. All right, so you can see here that standoff is all the way out to the end, and that's perfectly fine. Everything looks good and sturdy. It's not going anywhere. So then if I had my my safety harness here, I would actually tie in. I'm not going to because I'm still tied in with my lineman's belt. Just gonna clean up some of these limbs while I'm out here. And this is actually a decent time to do this out here in May in Indiana, because this is pretty well what it's going to look like during season, I think. And there you go, it's all ready to go. Deer comes out of that bedding area over there, walks down the trail, and I get a perfect shot right there. I like, this is why I really like hunting out of a tree stand versus a saddle. You could hunt out of a saddle on this tree, but in my experience, it's just there's too many limbs and too much stuff to get in your way, and that's just my preference. Doesn't mean it wouldn't work with the saddle, but to me, a stand is more of a practical application in this particular tree. So let me get back down. I'm going to go ahead and get all my stuff put back together. We're going to look at a couple more spots where I've seen bucks bedding in this CRP field. All right, so here's the tree, and the bedding was right back in there. So I would come from this direction over here to avoid going on top of this hill out here where the deer would be able to see me. So let's walk this way and see if there's a decent spot to come down into this little low area in the field. I found a good place to come out of this low area, and I think it's just out of sight of the deer. You can see the bedding's actually right over there, and there's just enough of a little knoll right here that's going to keep me hidden from them. And I just took a pair of clippers and clipped. This is a whole bunch of brush and crap. Just clipped it up so I can get down in there real quiet, and I'll probably access it just coming around this hillside, and then slip right down in it and get up in that tree, which is right there. And those bucks will be bedding right there, come around the corner to go out to the crop fields at night, and then I'll get a shot at them right there. So this is probably the second best bedding area in this CRP field here. And all it is a little really narrow finger that comes in the middle of the CRP field. It's in a little bit of a low area, but not I wouldn't call it a super low area. It's not the lowest area on the CRP field, but we'll come in here. I'll maybe show you some of the beds. So this is one of the beds right here in this little finger. Looks like nothing's been laying in here much lately. I did jump a decent buck in here when I was shed hunting earlier this year. There's also a bed right over here, and there's one right over there. So it's just at the end of this little point that goes out into the CRP field, and that's a lot of times where I'll find the deer in the CRP field, is on these little points in the middle of the CRP. So I would call this the second best bedding area, but I don't really think the deer prefer this area as much. They're a little more vulnerable right now. There's actually an old railroad track just 50 yards, 60 yards over that way that a lot of people walk up and down and stuff. So I think they prefer way back in there in the that little thicker area, little wider area that we put the stand up in. All right, so I just hopped out of that little finger to show you guys how I'd set up here. You can see right there is the bedding that we were just inside of. Honestly, what I would probably do, I would take one set and I would probably go set over here on this field edge and kind of do an observation set to see where the deer are going out of this, that bedding area. If I felt like the buck was in there, he could do a couple things. He could probably come out and just go straight across and end up over there in that corner out into the fields, or they could also come out of here and actually walk down the edge to go back out into the crop fields. If that was the case, I'd probably, I think anything in this area right here is too close to him. It's just not thick enough in here, and there's not enough cover to be hidden to get up in that tree. So I'd probably end up setting back in this little clump of trees, in one of those little trees. And let's just walk over there and look at them and pick a tree out. You can see there's a pretty defined trail that comes from that bedding area right there. But I would probably come back in here and set up in this tree right here. There's quite a few limbs and stuff in it, but you could get up there no problem, and then you'd have a shot at them when they came out of the bedding area and walk down this trail, which they're clearly walking down quite often to go out and around and into the crops. So that's the second best bedding area that is on the inside this CRP field. So now let's go to the third area. It's a little bit different, and I'll show you that area. All right, and finally I'm in the last bedding area here, and it's the lowest area in this CRP field. Probably not going to be many beds in it right now, just because of how short the CRP is. But I've jumped a number of bucks in this little low area right here, and it's tough to hunt them. I'll be honest with you. It's hard to get close enough to them out here to shoot them, and they don't make it very far in daylight hours. They're really safe out here. I have hunted them on the ground before out here, and it does work. You just got to be very methodical, very slow, and really work your way in and know what you're doing, understand where the bucks are, and yeah, it's tough. In the past, we've had the opportunity to mow paths in here, and the deer do use the paths, but you have to really be conscious of yourself using the paths, because we tended, I think, to to walk on the paths ourselves, well then you're just walking right where the deer are going to walk and exposing yourself and all that kind of stuff. So CRP fields are great areas for big bucks, and those are my three, at least on this particular CRP field, those are the three areas that I find the deer consistently are bedded in. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something from it. If you like what we're doing, make sure you subscribe and catch me and Dan on Before the Echo every Thursday night live on YouTube. See you guys later.